It is early in the morning. I've still got some pretty bad bedhead. But anyways, so the first episode of The Last of Us is dropped. It's here. It's been highly anticipated. Probably the most anticipated show of the year. I know the year just started, but I can't think of any other show that people are like talking about this much. But I wanted to talk about the first episode because I just finished watching it, and I this is with this show I have a sort of different attachment to it than I have other shows I review on this channel because I am a Last of Us fan. I'm a huge fan, actually. The first game is one of my favorite games and one of my favorite stories, like period, that I've ever like experienced. It is a beautiful, wonderfully told story with two of my favorite characters ever, Joel and Ellie. It is a great game. I've beaten it like 3 times, maybe. I don't know. That game just every time I play it, it gets better. Honestly, I love it to death. I also read the Last of Us American Dreams comic, which was cool, and I also played the Last of Us Left Behind DLC, which was again very good. And then Last of Us 2, I gotta be honest with you, I wasn't really a big fan of Last of Us 2. I thought the game had a lot of potential. I thought there were some moments, there were some things in it I really loved. But I felt like the game just it was structured very weirdly, and I don't know, I just wasn't crazy about it. But I don't hate that game. I don't love it. I just kind of think it's just kind of okay, just not nearly as good as the first one. But when this show, like when the trailers came out and it was being marketed and all that, my first thought was like, eh. I'm like, if I want to relive that story, I'll just play The Last of Us again. You know what I mean? Like I don't need to I don't need to go through it again just at like slightly different. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I don't know. I don't really see the point of this show because I'm just like, it's a great story, it is, but I mean, why go through it again when I could just play the game again? You know what I mean? And then when I read reviews saying this is the most faithful video game adaptation ever, that got me even less excited because I was just like, I mean, I'd rather they just do something completely different, honestly, because I don't know, why don't you just do something new with this? But I watched the first episode. It was an hour and 20 minutes, and it flew by. Like I didn't even like when it was over. I was like, oh man, this show really surprised me at this first episode. I mean, it's only the first episode, but I thought it was really good. And yeah, it was very faithful. It didn't change like a whole lot from the first like hour and a half of the game. But I don't know. I think I was really impressed with how they executed it. I think I really appreciated how they. I felt like um my biggest compliment I can give this first episode is that I felt like I learned more about the world of The Last of Us than I did within the first few hours of playing The Last of Us. I really like the first scene. It starts out with this scientist on a talk show talking about how if humanity isn't careful, we can just easily fall victim um to this virus. And it's a pretty distressing scene, knowing what's coming. And reviewing the show as someone who has played the game, it is a little interesting because watching it, I knew exactly where it was going to go. I knew everything that was going to happen. So I wonder how people who have never played The Last of Us, how would they feel about the episode? Um, but I really liked the characterization of Sarah, and I really like how the story showed sort of like it started out with the focus being on her. If you didn't play the game, you might assume that she's like a main character, and I appreciate that because in the game you kind of think that too. It starts out you play as her and it's from her perspective really. And man, it's hard for me to cry at movies and shows because I know it's not real. But in both the game and this show, I was bawling when Sarah died. It was heartbreaking. Pedro Pascal did an amazing job. Let's talk about Pedro Pascal. I love the guy. He's great. And he did an amazing job as Joel. He did awesome. I think in this they made Joel a little quieter than they did in the game. In the game, he still like sort of keeps to himself and minds his own business. But in this one, they made him just a little more like hardened and just shut down. Whereas in The Last of Us, I felt like he was still that way, but he still had a little more personality to him. And I don't mean that as an insult to this Joel, but I think if, you know, I don't know where the next episodes are going to go, but I think with this, like, this Joel, you just feel like he has no passion for life or anything anymore. You know, he's just going through the motions, which is, you know, acceptable in this world. And it makes me really excited to see how him and Ellie's relationship is going to grow and how he's going to learn to care more about her in the coming episodes. And Bella Ramsey as Ellie. When I was watching Game of Thrones, I already knew that she was playing Ellie. So when I saw Lady Mormont, I was like, she's going to be a good Ellie. She's going to be perfect. I was, you know, really excited. And I thought she did great. I thought this, you know, they got Ellie right. Ellie is one of my favorite characters like ever. So, you know, I'm glad they got her right. She swears and she's kind of fucking annoying at the beginning. And Joel doesn't treat her like a person almost. He just treats her like he said in the trailer, he just treats her like cargo. Because that's really all he is, really all she is to him at this point. So that's neat. I love the look of this episode. Like, they really like, it looks just like the game. You know, you see like buildings and they're like kind of toppled over each other. I love how you see the kind of society that they've built in this apocalypse. It's really neat. I thought the first, like, all the stuff before the outbreak was super well done. Like, seeing like the world like in like the very first stages of this outbreak. It's scary. It's tense knowing that, you know, this is like the last time that the world is going to be sort of at peace. And yeah, I think the biggest compliment I can give is Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey. I thought they both nailed their characters. You know, maybe I shouldn't judge this show too hard yet. You know, maybe I shouldn't be saying it's great because we're only one episode in of, I think, 9. So, but I thought for a first episode, I thought it was really good. You know, I went into it thinking like, I don't really want to experience the story again, but I think they're doing it in their own unique way enough to where I'm like, okay, I want to see what they do with this. I don't expect them to like change any like story beats like too drastically, but I really want to see how they tackle some of the bigger moments of the game, you know, and see how they do them, because it's really, I want to see how they do it, because I think they'll do it in a really unique way. I actually thought that this version of Sarah was better than the one in the game, and that's just because she gets more screen time, you get more characterization for her. It's neat, it's cool, you get to see what she was. And like I said, I really lost it when she died, even though I knew it was coming, and I still just cried. I cried like a little bitch. And you know, I'm the biggest thing that I'm excited for is seeing the relationship between Joel and Ellie. You know, I want them to grow from just somebody taking cargo to a genuine like father and daughter relationship. I'm really excited for that. So I thought this first episode was very good. I think it was really well done. The only complaint I have, it's not really a complaint, but I didn't really like Tess's dialogue. I don't know. I just felt like her character was like in a lesser show than everybody else. Like, I felt like everybody else's dialogue was just better than hers. I thought hers was kind of cringe. But I mean, that's not a huge deal. So I really like this first episode. That's really all I got to say about it. That, you know, Joel and Ellie were well done. The production design is killer in this show. It was emotionally well done. It was very good. It was a very good first episode. And it's an interesting thing for me, because when they make like books into movies, I don't read, so I don't care. You know, I don't care if they change stuff. I don't care if they you know, add this or add that. Like, whenever I hear someone complain about like Harry Potter or something, they're like, they got rid of this and they changed this. I'm always like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like the movies. They're fun, you know. Or on the other hand, like people say Lord of the Rings is the most, like, it's so faithful to the book. And in my head, I'm just like, oh, cool. I just like the movies, you know? But this is the first time I've watched something where I'm like, wow, I know, like, the original story, like, front and back. So, I don't know. It's strange for me watching something where I know exactly where it's going to go. So I don't know. I mean, I guess that's just that's not really a complaint or anything. That's just something for me that I'm like, huh, I guess that's kind of interesting. You know, like I didn't read Dune, but I watched the movie and I was like, that was cool. But this one, I'm like, well, I know every single plot beat that they're gonna hit. I know everything. Sometimes I even know what they're gonna say next. So I'm just like, so I'm really, I don't know. I was really impressed with the fact that they managed to like get me into the story. You know, and I gotta tell you, I knew I really liked this show when it ended. I was like, oh man, I gotta I need that second episode now. I don't want to wait a week. How am I gonna wait a week? Damn it. So yeah, I don't know if I'll review every episode. I might. I don't know. We'll see. There's only 9 of them, so we'll see. But this first episode I thought was very well done. I thought it was really good. So I'll probably review every episode. I need something to do. There's nothing coming out. So yeah, Last of Us episode 1 was pretty good.